The cubit was a measurement fit for royalty, taken from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger, or equivalent to about 7 palms. This unit inspired one of the earliest standard measures, the royal cubit, which might have been used to build the Great Pyramids. Some researchers have proposed that measurements using the body were merely stepping stones to standardized units, but new research is complicating this story.
I had a very strong suspicion that it's not something of the past because of many of my hobbies, for instance. I'm a very typical Finn. I do a fair bit of cross-country skiing. And of course, even today, when you go to a Finnish store and buy cross-country skis, you will measure them against your height. I do a fair bit of sea kayaking, and kayaking traditions still uphold many of these body-based units of measure.
To see how widespread these measurements are, the researchers searched for mentions of body-based units in 186 cultures.
We basically found body-based units in every inhabited cultural region in the world. So measures of length were definitely the most common. You'd find the cubit, fathom, handspan, and so on. It was interesting to see how many different variations of these very common units exist. So for instance, some cultures might measure the cubit from the elbow to the fist or to the tip of the fingers. Quite often they were used surprisingly similarly. So for instance, the unit fathom was used specifically to measure slack items such as cloth or ropes or fishing nets. You always carry your body with you, so it makes sense to use that when nothing else is available. You will find some units of volume that appear across different cultures, such as the familiar handful, armful, pinch. We also collected units of measure that are related to bodily activity. Some very commonly occurring ones were, for instance, a day's journey. The Nicobarese used young coconut drinks as a measure of distance. If you're seafaring, you'll want to have this very particular unit of hydration as an essential unit of measure.
They also looked at whether body-based measurements persisted after the introduction of standardized units.
Body-based units of measure pretty much in every cultural region persist in centuries or millennia after the first emergence of standards. Often they are used in a way that today we perhaps call ergonomics. So when you use your own body as a base for reference, you'll actually design the tool to be specifically custom tailored for your own personal use. I suppose much of this tradition was also lost in the Industrial Revolution when mass production kicked in.
Not only do body-based units make better-fitting tools and clothes, but they often reflect local knowledge.
These units of measure typically do have a strong sense of place, so they're tied to specific practical needs of specific cultures. In some cultures, for instance, where they live in highly mountainous terrain, it makes a lot of sense to measure distance as rest required. So we only kind of touch the surface of this question of, how and whether body-based measurement persisted after the emergence of standards. So I'm sure there's lots of detail there to be uncovered on how perhaps our local cultures around the world perceived the imposition or introduction of standards and whether or not they saw it as purposeful to adopt those.